you know, remember it had the chains on?
Yep.
Just then, you bend it, it got traction.
Yeah, it took.
Okay, you're being recorded.
You know, there's a guy that raced him, not 10 miles from here. I run into before he passed on, old guy, Earl Beck. This dude was a serious racer in his day. He probably, because when it comes to the 80-inch hill climbers and stuff, I was right there in this whole setup. I saw him off, man. You know, he had him freaking. He says, "Go ahead, kick this one over, kid." You know, jump on that thing, got it move a little bit. He wasn't kicking it over too easy. How these guys started them, I don't know, but alcohol burning.
They were little guys.
Yeah, right. They were little guys too. But he had.
I sold an alcohol carburetor. 20s carburetor was original, not the copy. Only went for $2,000. Should have went for more.
Yeah, everything's a little bit down there these days. But he had them. He had, I think, 3 hill climbers in a 1907, and the mini car with the 45 cubic inch, or the 80 cubic inch engine in it.
Okay.
You know, overhead valve.
I've never seen one that was together.
This was all together. That's how I got my father-in-law at the time was the guy who put me in touch with him because he was trying to buy parts for, you know, to modify because he built everything. And so he said, "I'll get hooking you up, my son-in-law," and you know, so I got over there and got to walk around this place. Nice setup. He had the bike. Actually, you know where you probably saw him? You probably saw the bikes at the museum out there in, where is it, Ohio or something? I believe that's where they ended up.
Haven't been to it.
No, I never been to it either, but
I was at Wasia this summer.
Yeah, my
That's where
buddy.
I saw hers. 150 grand. Original paint.
Oh, wow. Original paint. No.
I couldn't believe it. The tank was off and I walked up and I'm looking at it. The guy says, "You know Curtis?" I said, "I love Curtis." I said, "Yeah." Instead of just reaching and grabbing, this is me, I touch it. And he says, he grabs the tank and says, "Here."
No shit.
And the guy on the, he goes, "It's a big deal. It's an old piece of junk. It's got rust."
Yeah, it's got rust.
I'm looking at it and I said, "No,
It's still here.
it's a Curtis."
Yeah, and hopefully it stays where it is being punched where it belongs, you know.
That's,
You don't see that really good stuff. Most of the stuff has been rehashed and done over and you know, a couple different times and stuff. That's why
You
it's
never know.
still got the freaking original wiring on it, original bags. Look at the Firestone tires, you know.
I got to meet the guy about 2 this summer thinking about it. Yeah, Knucklehead. And I'm talking to him, he says, "Yeah, I used to ride for Triumph." And I said, "What dealer did you ride for?" He says, "No, I rode for Triumph. First got 7, he was 8, something
No shit.
downtown."
Okay.
Anyway, I talked to him, I said, "Well, where'd you ride?" He says, "Well, I started out in dirt." And I thought, okay. He rode in the 50s, probably the 40s.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, and I said, "Well, wait a minute, you said you started in dirt. Where did you go from that?" He says, "Well, I was good, so they put me on the street." And I looked at him, and he's not talking much. And I looked at him, and I went like this, "Prima donna, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I guess you."
Just a little bit, huh?
Then he started talking. He had some fantastic stories, this guy.
Bet he did, freaking.
I want to talk to that guy.
That's hands-on, freaking real deal, you know.
But, you know, driving the dirt back, the street back then, those guys were
Maniacs. Totally out of their mind, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Come on, you know. A lot of guys didn't make it to it, you know. A lot of guys ended up freaking dead and gone.
Yeah, this guy.
Especially Triumphs, because they could do 120 miles an hour, but they couldn't stop.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
right.
They
got that wide.
Yeah, they had all the speed you wanted out of them, you know. Get 120 out of one wasn't that hard to do.
And I asked him, I said, "Well, you just raced here in town or around here?" He says, "Well, yeah, I raced here, but you had to go over to Daytona." And he says, "Then we went to the circuit here in the States, ended up in Frisco, and then we caught a boat."
Oh, we know the pond.
And he says, "We went through all Europe." He says, "We stayed a long time in Italy."